Factsverse presents Man seals himself in an airtight jar to prove an unsettling point about our planet. Curtis is not your typical YouTuber. Yeah, he creates videos, but unlike many popular YouTubers, his videos mean something to him. He's very passionate about climate change, and he works to educate viewers about the severity of the problem. After a while, he began to feel hopeless. He didn't think that people understood the seriousness of the issue, so he figured out a way to really make a statement. Curtis's YouTube channel is pretty successful. Not only does he try to educate viewers about environmental issues, he also performs cool science experiments. He has a master's degree in environmental science, so he knows what he's talking about. His incredible sense of humor, though, is what brings viewers back to his channel again and again. He thought that if he could make science a bit less daunting, people would see how cool science really is. One of Curtis's most popular videos was when he was out to prove the Earth was round, but he didn't have to go into space to do that. Instead, he used his bike. Using his bike and a couple of rods, he created sundials and shadows. At the end of the video, those who refused to believe the Earth is flat were proven wrong. In another video that received a lot of hits, Curtis tried to avoid touching anything plastic for 24 hours. And that turned out to be difficult because his clothing and most of his household items contained plastic in some way. He wanted people to understand how much plastic is really used and not recycled. His videos are successful because he breaks down the complexity of the experiments into layman's terms. He's been compared to Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill was pretty popular with kids because they could understand his experiments and the reasons he performed them. Curtis heard about climate activists who chained themselves to trees that were set to be cut down. He wanted to get his environmental point of view out to the public, and he had a better idea than that. The idea came from something he did years earlier. He placed soil and plants into a small sealed jar. After a few months, he noticed the plants were thriving. And that's where he got the idea for his experiment. He believed that if plants could survive off the carbon dioxide in a sealed-off environment, he could live off the oxygen and flora produced in a makeshift biodome. And it was then he started building his human-sized jar. Curtis called the experiment Curtis in a Jar. He announced to his Twitter followers that he was going to be sealing himself off in an airtight environment with just plants, hoping to survive off of their oxygen. It took him 2 weeks to build his human greenhouse, and when he was done, he made the plan. He was going to live for 3 days on just the oxygen that the plants provided him. He had just 1,000 square feet of living space. On October 24th, Curtis entered his human greenhouse. He was prepared to live without fresh air, but he couldn't live without Wi-Fi. He wanted to document the experience. He wanted to document everything for his YouTube viewers. When the door was sealed, he began filming and tweeting. He wanted the public to understand how dire the effects of climate change were and how the staggering amount of carbon dioxide that people pump into the air is unhealthy. Curtis knew the amount of carbon dioxide that humans exhale could surpass the amount that's inhaled. He knew the carbon dioxide levels could rise in his biodome. If the plants didn't regulate the amount of carbon dioxide, he would have to bail out of the situation. Unfortunately, an unexpected bout of clouds rolled in 14 hours into his experiment, and that kept the plants from pumping out the oxygen he needed to survive. Despite the experiment being cut short, Curtis was still thrilled with the results. His project proved that if we don't take care of our environment, fossil fuels and other destructive chemicals will continue to wreak havoc. This guy sealed himself in an airtight jar to prove this unsettling point about our planet. And he's not the only one who's worried about climate change. Some of the top minds in the world have been trying to warn government officials of the dangers of climate change for quite some time. Unfortunately, some world leaders refuse to believe that climate change is a problem. Until everybody gets on board about climate change, our planet may never be safe. Subscribe for more.